Hello. All right, in this video we're going to talk about box and whisker plots, which you probably have seen before in another algebra class. Let's review them. So a box and whisker plot is called a box and whisker plot because it has this box part right here and then two whiskers that come off of that. So thus the name box and whisker plot. It is used to show a quick visual of a bunch of data points. So that's why we use those. All right, so a box and whisker plot consists of 5 parts. The minimum, the first quartile, the median, the third quartile, and the maximum. Now 3 of these things you should be already familiar with. The minimum is simply the smallest number in a data set. The median is the middle number, and the maximum is the largest number. So those 3 things you're probably familiar with. The median takes the data set and splits it into 2 sections, a lower half of data and upper half of data. So the first quartile, abbreviated Q1, this is simply the median of the lower half of data. So if you take that lower half and cut it in half again, that's our Q1. Same thing with Q3, our third quartile, abbreviated Q3, that is the median of the upper half of data. And then, so let's take a look at this example here. So the smallest number then would be represented, that's 11 right here. Okay. The biggest number, that's our max, that's represented with this 32 right here. The median would be 22.5, and the Q1, first quartile, would be 15.5. and third quartile will be 28. Okay, so a couple of other quick notes. The range, you've heard of range before. This is the biggest number minus the smallest number. So I'm going to write that, max minus min. In this case, in our example you see there, that would be 32 minus 11. You would have 21. So IQR, you can see sort of right here, the IQR is this length of this box part, okay? So that is actually a quick way to find it is to go Q3 minus Q1. So third quartile minus the first quartile. In our example at the bottom there would be 28 minus 15.5. So those are the quick things that you need to know. These 5 things are what you need to know to make a box and whisker plot. They're called the 5-number summary. Not a very creative name, but quartile, as you might guess, the quartiles and the medians break things into quarters, which is 25% of the data. So each of these sections represents 25% of the data. So if I said to you, what percent of the data is represented from the minimum right here to the third quartile, you would say, well, from here to here, that's 25 plus 25 plus 25. That would be 75% of the data. Okay? So that's what we're going to do here in a couple examples. All right. So box and whisker plots. First of all, to make a box and whisker plot, you need to put the data in numerical order. So I did that already with this first set. There are 9 numbers. Make sure you have 9 when you rewrite them. You might want to count. I like to do that. What you're going to do with these then is cancel down to the middle. So when you cancel down, cross off 1 from the bottom, 1 from the top in pairs. So then just like this, 5 and 9, 6 and 8, 6 and 8, another pair. And then now you should have 1 number in the middle, or maybe sometimes you'll have 2. Okay? Now this number is your median. So I'm going to write that over there. Now a couple other things that we can do right away. I know that the minimum number, the smallest number, is 4. The maximum number is 10. So I can write those in there right away. Now my first quartile and third quartile, remember these are medians as well. So when you find Q1 and Q3, you will never include the median. I like to circle it so I don't accidentally include it. Now I'm going to box these numbers, not the median, so not 7, and I'm going to box these numbers right here to just kind of show you that that's what I'm looking at. So on the left box there I have 4, 5, 6, and 6. I am going to find the median of these numbers here. That will be my Q1. Okay, remember Q1, median, and Q3 are all different types of medians. So when you do this, you're going to go, all right, I'm going to cancel to the middle. You'll get 5 and 6 in the middle. Okay, now to figure out what the median is of those two, you have to just go 5 plus 6 and then divide by 2. If you have two numbers, you add them together, divide by 2. So now if you do that, you should get 5.5. So that is my Q1, and I'm going to write it over here. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing with this other side, this upper half of data. I'm going to cancel to the middle, and in the middle, I would end up with these two numbers. So I would add 8 and 9, and then divide by 2, I'd get 8.5. So that is my Q3. Okay. Now we are going to make our box and whisker plot with these 5 things, okay? When you do this, you should also, you'll have a number line, or make a number line if you need to, and then label anything that you need to label. So you don't need to start at 0. That's a lot of times unnecessary. So I'm just going to start here. This one right here is 4. And you don't have to label it. I'm going to just count by ones, but I don't have to label every single dash there. I'm just going to label every other one. And I'll just stop here because I only need to get up to 14. So that's going to be good enough. Now, these 3 numbers, the Q1, the median, and the Q3, these form the box part. They're all medians. They're the box part. So 5.5, I want to find that on my number lines. So here's 5, and here's 6. I want halfway in between those two, so I'm going to put 5.5 is right here. Okay, and you're going to do a little vertical line slightly above that number. Our median is 7, so I want to find 7, which is right here. Make another small vertical line. And then 8.5, be right about there. And now those are your 3 things that form the box. You're going to connect those. Okay. Now your whiskers come from the minimum and the maximum. So you're going to put a dot at the minimum. In this case, that's 4. And a dot at the maximum, 10. Now you're going to connect those dots to the end of each side of the box, and those form your whiskers. So now you've just made a box and whisker plot. It's a quick visual of this data up here. All right, and that's a box and whisker plot. Now, they do ask us to state a couple other things. So it says, what is the range? Remember, range is the max minus the min. So in this case, that would be 10 minus 4. So my range is 6. Interquartile range is Q3, in this case 8.5, minus Q1, 5.5. So that means my IQR would be 3. So these are my 2 answers for that after I've made my box and whisker plot. Okay, let's try another one. This data set is from the KFC menu, and this is the total grams of fat from the various things that are on the KFC menu. Like extra crispy chicken drumstick is pretty wonderful. Okay, so let's go down here. All right, so I already put these in order. So we're going to cancel down to the middle. Okay, so when we do this, let's zoom in a little bit. When we cancel down to the middle, you're going to end up with these 2 in the middle. Okay, 18 and 24. Now, as we said before, you're going to add those 2 numbers up, 18 plus 24, and then divide by 2. When you do that, you'd end up with 21. So that's my median. I'm going to write it over here. I'm also going to circle this right now. Okay. I don't want to use that. Remember, you don't use the median when you find Q1 and Q3. Now, I'm also going to write in a couple of other things here. I know that the minimum is 9 and the maximum is 29. I'm going to do that as well. So now we are going to find Q1 and Q3. Now to do that, I'm going to split this data into two halves. Everything below 21, so that's all of these numbers, again, not including 21. And then everything above 21, not including that 21 there. And now I'm going to find the median of each of those sections. So let's start with the box on the left. So these numbers, if I cancel down to the middle again, I'll end up with 10 and 12. Add them up, divide by 2, you'd get 11. I'm going to do the same thing with this upper half over here. And in the middle, I ended up with 26 and 27. So I do the same thing there. My median of those numbers would be 26.5. So 11 is just another type of median, but that is my Q1 or first quartile, sometimes called the lower quartile. Q3, sometimes called the upper quartile, is 26.5. Okay, now you can see down here I have a number line, and notice I didn't start at 0. My smallest number there is 9, and I just labeled, in this case I labeled every 5. So again, I'm going to start by making the box part first, so these three numbers first. So 11 is right here, vertical line there. I'm going to do 21 is my median. Again, make sure these are in the right spot. And then Q3 is 26.5. So that's right there. Now I'm going to connect these. And that's the box part of my box and whisker. So now I'm going to do my min. The smallest number I have here is 9. That's right here, so I'm going to put a dot there. Connect it, and then the largest number is 29, and that is right here, and then connect that to form my other whisker. So now notice this box and whisker plot looks a little different. So just keep that in mind. They can look lots of different ways, and they won't always be symmetrical. Like the box part won't always be right in the middle. Might be shifted one way or the other. All right, so the range. The range would be the max minus min would be 29 minus 9, which is 20. Interquartile range. That would be 26.5 Q3 minus 11 Q1. So that would give me 15.5. All right. That's how you make a box and whisker plot. Okay, lastly, just to quickly go over, if you're given a box and whisker plot and you go through this, here's some quick things. So let's just take a look at this particular box and whisker plot. If I gave you this and I said, what's the median? It would be that number right there, which is 7.5. Lower quartile, remember that's just another way of saying the first quartile. So that would be this number, that would be 5.5. Upper quartile is another way of saying third quartile. So that would be that number right there, and that is 9.5. The minimum would be right here, that's 3.5. Maximum would be 11.5. These values right here are called the 5-number summary. Okay. The IQR. So we said the IQR here is Q3, which would be 9.5 minus Q1, 5.5. So in this case, that would be 4. What percentage of the data is below the upper quartile? So here's the upper quartile again. What is below that? Now remember, each of these sections is 25%. So what's below that? That would be 75%. What percent is between the lower quartile right here and the median? That would be 25% is in between there. And how much is above the median? So that here's the median again, and everything above that would be 25% plus 25%, 50%. So that's how you'd use those to answer questions like that. And that is everything about a box and whisker plot. So you should be able to do your last assignment in this unit. All right, good luck. See ya.